About 1.5 years ago, I was at home babysitting my little brother. My parents had just gone to the supermarket for food, so wouldn't be gone for very long. My brother is autistic, so it was important I stayed with him constantly. At first, everything was normal and relaxed. We were sat together in the living room watching children's TV shows. Then, all of a sudden, the electricity cut out. The house was black and silent. I knew that my parents wouldn't be very long, so I thought it was best that we just sat and waited for them to return. I was comfortable with the darkness. However, before too long, my very young brother became uneasy. He told me that there was a monster in the house. I presumed that he had heard a noise and thought the worst. After all, we lived in an old house, and old houses make noises all the time. I decided to have a little fun with him. "It's okay," I told him. "You're safe with me." I asked him about the monster. "Where is he? What's he doing?" My heart skipped a little when my brother whispered that the monster was waiting in the darkness upstairs in Dad's bedroom. At this point, my brother began to cry, so enough was enough, no more fooling around. In an attempt to calm his tears, I took his hand and led him upstairs. I wanted to show him that there was no monster, it was just the dark that was scaring him. I turned on the torch on my phone and shined it into our dad's bedroom. Its bright white light punctured through the darkness of the room. There was nothing there. I assured my brother that everything was all right. I could see that he believed me. We turned our backs to the room and began to make our way downstairs. Then we heard it. A noise, coming from Dad's bedroom. I felt my little brother's hand tighten in mine. How strange, I thought. Could there be an intruder in the house? I told my brother to wait on the stairs, reassuring him that I would be back. I made my way back to the bedroom, but did not go inside. Instead, I stayed outside, peering my phone around the door in order to take photos, in the hope that the flash would make whoever was in there say something or move. There was nothing but silence. I went downstairs with my brother, who was now strangely quiet. A little spooked, I thought that I might as well look at the photos which I had just taken. Most of them looked normal. Most. When I looked at the last photo, I felt my heart sink to the pit of my stomach. The photo was dark, half of it obscured by the bedroom door. But there, just above the door handle, was a face. It was extremely thin and grey, with large, deep black eyes. I couldn't see a mouth. I am glad that I couldn't. Still in darkness, I cuddled with my brother and waited until our parents came home. When they did, I showed them the photo. They told me that it was probably just my phone playing up, but I knew different. Since then, photographs taken in the house have always produced anomalies. There is always someone in them who shouldn't be, a face that was never there when the shutters snapped. The house gives me the chills. I always feel like I am exposed, like I am being watched. It was the summer of 2011, and I was 21 years old, living in New Jersey. I lived in a somewhat old house with my mom and roommate. My roommate was often out, so it was mainly my mom and I. We had been living there for just a few months. Nothing out of the ordinary had ever happened there, just day-to-day life, as you would expect. However, over the course of 18 months, things would happen that I just could not explain. It started out pretty simple. We would be sitting downstairs, then all of a sudden we would hear footsteps from upstairs. Pictures would go crooked on the walls, despite us fixing them constantly. Over time, the activity got more intense. We would feel faint, breath-like breezes on the backs of our necks, or tugging on our clothes. One time, it even felt as though someone placed their hand on my mom's back and lightly pushed her. It was like someone was standing right behind her, but there was no one there. It was not just us who sensed that things were not as they should be. My roommate owned a few birds. Sometimes they would start to panic for no reason. It was like something had spooked them. Although I was there to witness a lot of these happenings, things mostly happened around my mom. The day had ended, and I was sleeping on my pull-out couch downstairs. It was a deep sleep. I was completely knocked out. It was around 3 a.m. when my mom started downstairs to get herself a drink of water. Suddenly, she tumbled down the stairs, barely missing the radiator at the bottom. Afterwards, she said that something had pushed her in the back. That something had pushed her hard. Was my mom being targeted by whatever was in that house with us? All I know is that she was very lucky to walk away from the fall with only temporary bruises. I will never forget how the suddenness of her fall shocked me awake. Later, a doctor told me that I woke so suddenly that I actually bruised my heart from rapid pulse change. It was after that we started to take these happenings more seriously. I was now concerned for my mom's safety. So, my mom and I decided to do an EVP session the very next night. It started with the usual stuff. What's your name? No reply. When did you die? No reply. Do you even know that you're dead? No reply. Nothing. Slightly disheartened, I decided that for the second half of the session, I would be more creative. I suggested that if the spirit needed energy to communicate, then it should channel some from me. As soon as I asked, I felt a little strange. After asking a few more questions, I played back what we had recorded. There was a voice on the recording after I asked if the spirit was low on energy. Clear as day, it said, "I'd like to use it." I had never heard that voice before in my life. We showed the recording to our landlady. She was shocked when she heard it. She said that it was, without a doubt, the voice of her late mother. It was then that we found out that this lady had died in the house before we moved in. This is not the end of my story. After this, the activity in the house only began to increase. Despite doing more EVP sessions, we would never record the voice again. However, something far stranger did happen. It was around noon and the sun was shining. My mom and I were in the living room when all of a sudden a glowing orb of light, the size of a basketball, appeared on one side of the room. It moved around the room for about 2 or 3 full seconds, looping and flying in all directions. Then it flew into the old grandmother-style clock on the other side of the room. It disappeared. The hands on the clock stopped. Only they were not accurate to real time. Was this a time of death? My mom and I decided right then that it was time to move out of this house. A month later, we did just that, and neither of us have been back since.
Are you low on energy?
I would say take my energy, but I don't have any. I'm tired.
There's plenty of energy in the phones and the device here, the recorder.
If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and remember to subscribe for more of the paranormal. If that hasn't sated your appetite for the paranormal, then why not click here for more paranormal audio recordings?
We know your presence is in here.
Are you having a hard time speaking with us?
Are you low on energy?
I would say take my energy, but I don't have any. I'm tired.
There's plenty of energy in the phones and the device here, the recorder.
Yeah.